of the Tanzania Royal Tour documentary, Peter Greenberg. He's here in Tanzania to witness the launch in Arusha, that is to take place in Arusha. And of course, we all know how the Royal Tour, the Tanzania Royal Tour, is trending. My guests, please welcome here on the show. It feels good to have you here on the set.
It feels better to be here with you. How about that?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. When we talk about the Royal Tour, Tanzania Royal Tour, what is it all about and what does it entail?
Well, first of all, let me explain the words Royal Tour.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with monarchy. It's sort of like, I'm going to give you the Royal Tour of New York, or you'll give me the Royal Tour of Dar.
Yes.
And it started 22 years ago when we did the very first one with the King of Jordan. And then that followed the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and then the President of Mexico, the President of Peru, the Prime Minister of Jamaica. We've been doing many for the last 22 years. I should tell you, we've always wanted to do Tanzania. It goes back to my original conversations with President Kikwete. And then he left office before we could do it. Then President Magufuli, we know what happened.
Yes.
And then President Samia, Mama Samia, she said, let's do it. And you know what? She had seen another one that we had done with President Kagame in Rwanda. She understood what the show was. And what the show is, and will always be, is a unique, special perspective show where on American television, I'm usually the host. I'm usually taking everybody around. The Royal Tour is the one exception to that.
Yeah.
It's where I'm not the host, I'm the visitor. The host is the head of state, who is showing me his or her country through their eyes, through their history, through their culture, through their people. And so that's what we did. President Samia and I, we went all across Tanzania and had an amazing time. And that's what this show is. I should also tell you one other thing. It's not a scripted show. It's, imagine two people on a road trip, one of whom just happens to run the country. And whatever happens, happens. So I think people will be surprised in a very pleasant way to see what happened and where we went and what we did.
Oh, okay. You have preempted my question, my next question, that was if President Samia was having a busy schedule and who could be your second choice. But now I understand, yes, because now I understand, and the viewers, of course, understand what is the meaning of the Royal Tour.
And there's one more thing that I should tell you as a journalist. In the last 22 years since we started, no head of state and no government has any editorial influence on the show. In fact, the very first time that President Samia saw the show was when it premiered in New York last week. So that's the way to keep the show credible and honest and real.
You have been filming the Royal Tour with Her Excellency, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan. What was the experience like? How easy was it to work with her?
At the end of the very first day, we were pals. She is very accessible. The very first day of any shoot, people are like, a little bit like this and a little nervous because it's a different world. I must tell you that she's easy to talk to. She knows her country. She knows the story of the country. Imagine talking to me, an outsider, about 123 separate tribes, the Swahili language, the different regions, the history of the country, how many people wanted this country, whether it was the Germans, the Brits, the Omanis, the Arabs, and how all of that evolved into an independent country. And let's face it, you're a new country. You've only been independent for less than 60 years.
60 years already.
I know, but that's young.
Yeah.
That's young.
Compared to the United States of America?
The United States is actually still young.
Yeah.
To say that we've been independent for 200 years is young compared to other countries. So we can relate to all the different evolution that you're going through because everything is new.
Now, throughout the filming of this film, of course, the documentary, the Tanzania, the Royal Tour, you have been traveling in various places, but this had involved the national parks also within Tanzania, especially within the tourism aspect.
Sure.
What are the shortcomings that you really encountered while producing this documentary?
Well, I wouldn't call them shortcomings.
Yes.
There are challenges in any production. When you have to move this many people, it's production. When you have to move this many people to different locations, it's not just like you and I going out and getting a taxi.
Yeah.
It's moving hundreds of people. It's all the logistics involved, whether it's airlines or cars or boats or every vehicle that we could possibly use, right? Whether it was in Zanzibar or in Bagamoyo, or whether it was in the crater or up at Arusha. I mean, every day was, I have to tell you, this is not like, we were not on vacation. We were working hard. Because we had only 8 days to show the country. Think about that. And we were working 16 to 18-hour days. So we'd finish about maybe midnight, and we'd be waking up at 5 to go again. So it was hard work. Was it worth it? Absolutely.
Now, Tanzania, the Royal Tour, ever since the launching in the United States recently in New York, and of course, LA, in Los Angeles, of course. Looking at the viewership on YouTube also, within the social media, it has got vast, massive viewership.
Yes.
Is this the expectations that you had before?
Oh, we've had that for all of our shows, because there's a great curiosity. I'm going to say this now to you as an embarrassed American. Most Americans don't even know where Tanzania is. Most Americans don't know its history. Most Americans don't know its culture. Americans tend to be rather geographically ignorant. And so this is an opportunity for them, for the very first time, to see a country the way it was meant to be seen, and what an unbelievable opportunity to see it through the eyes of its leader. So the viewership is growing, the viewership is huge. It doesn't just exist on public television in America, that's 350 different television stations all across the United States, but it's also on Amazon, and it's also on Apple. So it is widespread and it's global. But in the United States, I can tell you that it premiered last week on the first station, which was in Chicago, and they got huge ratings, huge ratings. They sent me an email just yesterday saying, we couldn't believe it, right? Because we know what our shows do. This show did better. And that's a very good sign.
The United States it's a huge country, of course.
Oh, yes.
With almost 52, 55 states?
No, 50.
50 states, yeah? Okay. Why just New York and LA? What was the reason behind just these two states?
Oh, that's an easy answer. New York and LA are the media capitals of America. New York for all the journalism and the press, Los Angeles for entertainment. So we had a premiere in New York for all the major media and the major travel stakeholders, the tour operators, the safari operators, the airlines, the hotels, even the cruise ships. You have a port, you have 2 ports in Tanzania, and the cruise lines are now looking to see if they can put their ships here, right? Which really hasn't happened before. And then in Los Angeles, it's all the movie makers, the television makers, the producers, the writers, the directors, who either have been here on some projects before or want to come and do their movies here. So what a great opportunity for them to see the country for the first time on TV. Prior
to my 2 questions ahead, I asked you concerning the shortcomings, of course, which you mentioned very well, that you really can't say that there were shortcomings. But what are the memorable moments that you really think you'll live to tell and remember?
This program is too short for me to tell you all the memorable moments. But I will tell you that in Zanzibar, to me, one of the most memorable moments was when I went to Madam President's original village, Kizimkazi.
Yeah, in Zanzibar, yes.
In Zanzibar. And when she took me to her first school, where her father was a teacher, to where she lived, which hasn't changed, and then to her first mosque, where we discussed how Islam had shaped her values, and she was able to explain it in a way that really reached common ground. I could understand everything, and so could the audience. This is, if we're successful in this program, it's because the show doesn't just humanize the country. It doesn't just humanize the people, it also humanizes her. And it lets you realize that at the end of the day, we all want the same things. We all share the same values. You're united here with one language, really, which is, I wish we had that in America, when you think about it.
Swahili, yeah?
I know, yes. And so my memorable moments was learning about this country through President Samia, was learning about this country through the stories that she tells. She's a great storyteller. Tanzania has a great story to tell. And your story is still happening. That's the beauty of Tanzania. Your story, it didn't end. It's continuing.
Now, talking about Tanzania, the Royal Tour, how can you say on the rolling of the Royal Tour ever since it has been launched in the US and now heading to Tanzania here, that soon it's going to be launched in Arusha? What do you think it has impacted the US itself and of course globally?
Well, remember, this just premiered last week. So I could not give you a real answer yet. It's still evolving. Remember, this show rolls out not all at the same time. It starts with one station in Chicago and then 349 more. And every week more and more are added. So this show will not just be on the air once. This show will not just be on the air a few times. This show will be on the air hundreds of times over 3 or 4 years, just on television. And of course, it lives forever in the streaming real estate with Amazon and with Apple TV. So it's got a life that will far outlast me. Seriously. So.
And how do you think this is going to impact Tanzania within the tourism world?
Well, here's the interesting distinction. It's not my job to promote a country. I'm a journalist. You're a journalist.
Yes, but you have produced this with intentions.
No, wait a second. Don't say the word intentions. Nuh-uh. There's one intention that I have, and that is presenting the country, not promoting it.
Oh, okay.
Big difference.
That is clear.
The minute the audience thinks I'm promoting it, my credibility is done, right? My job is to, and I do this with everything that I do, is to present the country in a way that people learn, they understand, and then they can make an intelligent decision about their travel choices. I can tell you, if you look back at all the other world tours that we've done, that it's resulted in a huge increase in tourism. And one of the reasons is, and I don't want to sound like I'm being self-serving, but when it's all about accessibility and fear. The worst 4-letter word that starts with F when it comes to travel is fear. The United States State Department still has a travel advisory for Tanzania. People are telling me all the time, oh, I don't want to go, I'm scared. Do I look like I'm scared? Do I look like I'm scared?
Not really.
No. You have to make an intelligent choice about where you go. The Tanzanian people are warm and embracing and loving and welcoming and hospitable. They want to share their stories. They want to show you their city, their town, their village, where they work, what they do. The studio we're in right now. I don't have fear. I have curiosity. So if you can, or if I can, present a country in an honest and credible way, then there's no need to promote it. It'll just happen.
Everything is done.
Yes. So that's one of the reasons why when we do these shows, there is no editorial involvement from either the government or the tourism folks. Because if they got involved, they couldn't help themselves. It would be a blatant advertisement. And if I ever did that, I'd have to resign. Right? I'd have to quit. That's not what I do. But my job and my challenge is to do a show that's honest, that's credible, that shows people their options. And when people can see that I can do it, they want to do it. Now I have to tell you, that may not mean when they come here they'll still know where Tanzania is. They may not. They may not ever know. But they will come back and go, wow, look what I experienced. Not look what I did, or look what I bought, look what I experienced. Look at the conversations I had. At the end of the day, these shows are about conversations. The conversations that I have with Her Excellency, the conversations in which we find common ground, and in which she can communicate her hopes, her vision, her history to the people of the world. about a country that most people don't know. So we're happy to do it. You know why? Because I learned too. I learned too.
I would like to hear your opinion and your advice now after the Royal Tour, Tanzania Royal Tour. What should be next? What should Tanzanians now do? We have the Tanzania Royal Tour. Now, in your own opinion, in your own words, what should Tanzanians now do?
Well, I think the pathway is clear. You have no shortage of talented people. You have no shortage of people with energy and passion and drive. So that part of it's already ready. You have no shortage of natural resources. You have no shortage of land. You have no shortage of animals. You have, although you did at one point with elephants, but that's getting better.
Yes.
You have no shortage of any of that. So what you need now is responsible infrastructure in terms of hotel and resort development, natural resources being your water, seashore development, transportation development. I can tell you that in New York, when we had the premiere, one major US airline, they came to a special lunch that I had for the president, and all they want to do right now is start service to Tanzania. There is not a single US airline that flies here. Why not? Because they didn't know about Tanzania. Now they do. So I think within the next 3 to 5 years, partly fueled by our show, not that it was not my job to do that, but partly fueled by the awareness level that's been raised, you will see a change. Because we've seen that in every other show that we've done, whether it was in Rwanda or New Zealand. Whether and Rwanda needed the help, New Zealand didn't think they needed the help, they got it anyway, because it added more people that never even, it's the number of eyeballs that now look and go, I had no idea. There are 196 countries in the world. Right now, if you're worried about safety, there are only about 180 you can go to. That's still 180 countries. You and I could walk out of the studio right now and go to any of them. Okay, why would we go to any of them? What's compelling us to go? What are our passion that goes, I have to go there? People don't travel because they want to travel. They travel because they need to travel. It's an emotional connection. So I think if the story is told the right way and it's told honestly, it's inescapable. You're going to have an emotional connection to Tanzania. And once that happens, everything happens.
Falls apart. Now, talking on the future of tourism, you have been able to travel to various places here in Tanzania to see the natural heritage, the whatever you call it on the tourism aspect here in Tanzania. Now, talking of the future of tourism, in your own opinion, Peter, how do you see the future of tourism globally here in Tanzania?
Well, you asked me how I see the future of tourism globally, and then how I see it in Tanzania.
Yes, and of course, the areas of investment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's a double-edged sword. What was the #1 topic before the pandemic? It was over-tourism, and it was sustainability. Those are the two main topics of discussion. Then the pandemic happened. Well, guess what? We're now coming out of that. We're being able to manage the virus better. It's not over. We're able to manage it. And those two subjects are back on the drawing board, right? So you have an opportunity here to build your infrastructure, to build your opportunities for your visitors, but to do it responsibly and not do over-tourism. While you and I are sitting here right now, the city of Venice in Italy is now charging tourists to go to St. Mark's Square. They're charging them an entrance fee. If a country becomes an amusement park, it's over, right? You have great natural parks. They don't have to become an amusement park. You can manage your visitors. You can manage those numbers. And if that means you charge more for the experience, then do it. But the point is, you're not going to make the mistakes, hopefully, that other countries have made. And that's just in terms of the numbers. Then there's the sustainability aspect. More and more people today, when they travel, they want to know Where did this glass of water come from? How did it get here? It didn't just come from the store. How did it get here? When I flush the toilet, where does that water go? They want to know.
The waste product, yeah?
They want to know. Because it's a holistic approach to travel now. It's not just I want to sit at the pool with a fluffy drink and get a suntan.
Yeah.
First of all, people are not coming to Tanzania to get a suntan. That's ridiculous. They're coming here to have an experience, right? To immerse themselves in a culture.
And see what Tanzania has to offer.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So now, from the business community, as they want to grow tourism, it's already 17% of your GDP. That's big.
Yeah.
The global average is 11. You're 6 points above that already. There's no reason why you can't go to 25, 26, 27%. But the question is not that you're going to get there. You're going to get there. The question is how you're going to get there. And you're going to get there by doing it responsibly. Because travelers today will make choices based on your behavior. They will make choices not based on who's got the highest building, or who's got the fastest boat, or the most delicious coffee, or the most delicious cashews, which you have, by the way. Our cashew nuts cannot come close to your I live on your cashew nuts now. But it's not going to be based on that. It's going to be based on responsible behavior, so that you're protecting the environment, you're protecting your tribes, you're protecting your resources, you're protecting your animals, you're protecting all the other wildlife, you're protecting your ports. It's not just about growth and building, it's about doing it responsibly. Because your biggest resource, it's your people. And that doesn't change. Oh my goodness. I have to tell you, I had a big crew when we came here. They had never been. None of them had ever been here. When they left, they were calling their wives and their husbands saying, "You've got to come back with me." What does that tell you?
Yeah.
You have a great experience here. You have a great product here. And as long as you do it responsibly, it only grows well. Not just larger, it grows well.
Peter, it feels good to continue talking to you, but we are running out of time. But very briefly, your message to Tanzanians.
My message to Tanzanians is my message essentially to the African continent.
Yes.
There are 54 countries here. Most of you have been ignored by the West. Most of you have been ignored by the big G20 countries. This is your century now. This is your time. This is your time for growth. This is your time for development. This is your time to shine. And guess what? You're going to do it.
Peter, thank you so much for your time. It feels good and a pleasure to have you here on the set, and it's so nice to see you again in Tanzania.
It's so nice to be here again in Tanzania. And as I walk out the door, I'm starting to learn my Swahili, right?
What are the Swahili words that you know?
Oh, the most important word to me is pole pole.
Pole pole, yeah? Do you know the meaning?
I do.
What is it?
To me, it could be meaning slowly, slowly.
Yes.
But it also means carefully, carefully.
Yes, definitely. I think the second one fits most.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice talking to you.
And likewise.
Asante sana.
Asante.
Well, dear viewers, we have come to the end of our discussion. Of course, it was a chit chat to the executive producer of Tanzania, the Royal Tour. And of course, his name is Peter Greenberg. From me, your host, Agnes Tuniga, thank you very much for being with us. Till next time, it's goodbye.
Tanzania, the Royal Tour.
Chama cha Makatibu Mahususi Tanzania